Welcome back to the show. This is the Prima Jope Show, and on this show, I bring you the good, the bad, and the ugly of coaching and consulting. I honestly wish that as I started my journey of being a coach, that people told me everything that wasn't reels and highlights. I feel like there's a lot of people sharing the reels and highlights, but not a lot of the behind the scenes is shared. And I feel like as a coach and consultant, you feel trapped when you're on the inside because there's a lot of things that happen on the inside and nobody ever told you what happening, which can one crush your confidence as a person, and two get you out of business sooner than later. And so my hope for this podcast is that if you're new coming into coaching consulting, you at least know what to expect. And so you're not very disappointed or discouraged when things don't go as smooth as you wanted them to go. And two, that if you're already on the inside and things don't look as merry, that you know that you're not alone. And so I'm wanting to build a community of coaches and consultants who appreciate learning from the behind the scenes and not just the reels and highlights and everything that looks merry. Find this helpful? Be sure to subscribe and share. I don't run ads on this channel, and I'm hoping on you to spread the word. My title today is Stop Thinking Your Way to Building Your Personal Brand. A lot of us try to think our way into creating the perfect brand. And I have been a culprit of this, and I have had to take coaching for that lesson. I recall not so long ago, I had drifted into this analyzing mode, paralysis analysis, putting everything to the drawing board, figuring out what my message was, figuring out what my niche was, figuring out what my one word was, what problem I solved, for who I solved the problem, what my everything, what my course would be, and what my Facebook group would do, and what would the podcast name be. And I guarantee you, I spent months and months trying to contemplate the name of this show because I didn't want it to be like the rest of the shows. I contemplated a lot and lost a lot of money because I wasn't moving. I was just frozen. What can happen is if you try to overthink, you will overthink, and then think yourself out of the things that could actually work. And so the head is not a healthy place to sit when you're trying to make a decision. And I feel like every time someone tries to make a decision from the head, instead of making decisions from data, that they will end up making a decision based on their feelings and not based on the facts that are on the ground. And so today I wanted to walk you through really what my exact problem was. I wanted to understand the problem I solved. I wanted to understand who I solved it for. I wanted to understand what my unique mechanism for solving that problem is. And I wanted to know, like, what would be my message to the world? It took me 7 months or so trying to figure out that. I had a vague idea, but I wanted to be sure before I could start launching this to the market. And what ended up happening is I got in my head and kept iterating things out of the blue. I kept creating like offers and canceling them because I thought they were not good enough. I kept creating messages and changing them every week because I didn't feel the message was good enough. If you've been following me like on social media, where like Facebook is my main platform, that's Prima Jope on Facebook, you will find that I have made probably 15 pivots to this point, which I'm now speaking in 2024. But really, you would have to have scrolled through all of 2023, because in 2023, I did a lot of these pivots. And what was happening for me is I was creating a message, and today, this message felt like the thing. And I created my brand based on that. And then a week later, I listened to a podcast and I realized, oh my God, my message needs to sound like that. And so I took advice from that and rebranded. And then days later, I would listen to another podcast, or I would have another encounter with someone and I could feel like, oh my God, that's not the brand is this. And so I began to realize this loop I was in, which is I was creating messages in my head and validating them or invalidating them based on how I felt about them. And that was a very deep trap I had started, which was running my business deep into the ground. And so today I want to stop you from making that mistake. Today I'm very clear of my brand, and this is my brand. But I want to talk you through the process to creating this brand, which is non-thinking your way, of analyzing things, creating the vision board, and all of those things, and changing your banner 100 times. And so I want you to move away from this podcast today, knowing that you're probably doing it the wrong way. And I am not saying that I know everything to do with branding. I'm just saying if you want clarity around what you're doing in the universe, at least for this time of your phase of life, then it's not going to come from overthinking, but rather what I'm about to tell you. And so this is my personal brand. And if you're on YouTube, you would see like me having this on paper because that's my way of demonstrating. And if you're not on YouTube, chances are you're listening in, and so I'm going to just read them. But if you feel like you need the demonstration parts, I don't know why I'm in so much light all of a sudden. If you feel like you need to see the thing, then jump on YouTube under live videos. You should see this, what I'm sharing right now. But if you feel like you're fine, then let's get moving. There is 5 components of the brand. Based on how I learned this, and I want to appreciate Brand Builders Group for really teaching me how to dissect the brand this way, because when you dissect it this way, your message can be received by the right people. But also I know that knowing that this is how it's done can very quickly get you to overthinking and overstaying in your head, which is what happened for me. And so today my brand is this. The problem I solve, and I don't know why I don't see it as clearly as I want it to be, the problem I solve is stagnation. So in the marketplace where I am right now, I serve coaches and consultants, and the problem they have is they are stagnated. They're not moving. They are not growing. They are stuck on the same revenues, or they're getting worse by the month. They feel like they are not growing, and these are experts. They have value to offer the market. They know they are great at what they do. They know they are always up-leveling their skills, but then money-wise or revenue-wise, they feel very stagnated. The reason that they feel like that is because they have action paralysis, which is what I was explaining. They think and overthink and think themselves out of their own plans. So they're always planning and strategizing. I feel like planning and strategizing are like big words which keep people stuck. But anyhow, they are planning and strategizing and drawing things down and all of those things and preparing and creating courses and preparing the marketing plan and creating the funnels and all of these things that don't bring a customer in the door. And so there's a lot of action paralysis, and they are overthinking everything and talking themselves out of something that could have actually worked. My unique mechanism in the market is really motion or getting momentum. Like I encourage my clients to get in momentum, because until you're in momentum, we don't really know what will work and what won't work. And so what I encourage my clients to do is take the idea to market as soon as you're one step clear of it. And the next step might as well show up while you're in motion. So what I find is a lot of answers that my people are looking for start to appear when they start to take the step. When they get in motion, that is when the answer they're looking for comes. And so staying in your head trying to get this clarity and this answer sometimes is a fantasy, because the answer doesn't come until you take the first step. And my message to the world is get out of your head and get in motion, because the answers you're looking for are hidden in the motion you're not taking. The person I'm targeting is a coach or consultant underground. A year. And some people have done it and they just want to make it over and over and over. And some people haven't done it. This can also be the aspiring coach or consultant who believes that making 6 figures a year is something that is attractive to them. But that does not mean you can't make it in half a year. It doesn't mean you can't make it per quarter. And it doesn't mean you cannot make it per month, because I have personally made 97 grand in 1 month. And so it's possible to make this money per month, but most of my people are doing this below 100 grand per year. And so that's the brand. That's what I believe gives me clarity of the brand. And I want to credit Brand Builders Group for teaching me this formula, because when you have this formula, then every decision runs through this lens, and every decision really becomes very clear. The problem I solve is stagnation. What causes stagnation is action paralysis. Like people overthink everything and end up doing nothing. And so their action is paralyzed, and this is why they are not moving, not because they are not clear, but because they are looking for answers in their head, which the head is the worst place to look for clarity. My unique mechanism in the market is motion or momentum. Getting stuff done sometimes is the best way to get the clarity that you're missing. My message in the market is get in motion, get out of your head and get in motion, because the answers you're looking for are hidden in the steps you're not taking. And the person that I serve is a coach consultant or aspiring coach consultant below 100 grand a year. Now, this brand gives me a very clear lens through which I run the brand. So if I'm going to create a video like this, the question is a coach consultant who is stuck in their head, paralyzed about overthinking stuff, over planning, of analyzing, are they going to find this helpful? If the answer is yes, I create the piece. If the answer is no, I don't create the piece. If I'm going to create an offer, the question is a coach consultant who is paralyzed, stuck in their head, below 100 grand a month, stagnated in their revenue, going to find this offer interesting? If the answer is yes, I create it. If the answer is no, I don't create it. If I'm going to do anything particularly, I have to run this through the lens of, is this person going to appreciate this? And this was me like 2 years ago. And I'm not saying you have to serve your past you or whatever. Like, you can serve whoever you want. But for me, I serve the person that I was when I had expertise, but I didn't have clients. Nobody was hiring me. I didn't know how to market myself. I didn't know how to close sales. I didn't know how to demonstrate my expertise. I didn't know how to get people to come to me. I didn't know all these things. And so I create my brand and my plans and my help based on that, based on how I made my first 30 grand, based on how I made my first 50 grand, based on how I made my first 100 and 200 and 300 grand. Because I believe that the person then who was me would have appreciated some behind the scenes, which is what I try to bring to this show. And so what I wanted to explain to you is that the way you get to your brand is not through thinking through. You can go and begin to say, what problem do I solve? Who do I solve it for? What is my unique mechanism? What is my message to the market? But you will still find a problem, because the way that I go to these answers wasn't through talking my way through it. Let me tell you what I did that didn't work. I tried to think through it. I tried to get my clients to feel like 100 Google Docs. My clients are like the most patient people, because all of them kept filling these Google Docs for me. And I was going through that process where I was just trying to figure it out on paper. I sent Google Docs and surveys. And my clients were like, Prima, I will fill it. I felt like at some point they got tired of me and fill for me this, and how would you say this, and how would you do this? I wanted to back end kind of engineer the brand, and that wasn't working, because that's not how it works. Going to the market and labeling your banner, this person that is like this and this, those things don't work. I tried to engineer it in the back, and everything just kept failing. Creating offers and then trying to engineer a launch, those things didn't work. I started getting flow again when I just gave in and said, I will just create my content, and whichever content hits, wherever it hits, that's how I'm going to pivot the brand. So I had an idea because I knew that my unique mechanism is motion, it is execution, it is people getting out of their head and actually taking the ideas to market and growing and tweaking from that. I knew that was my unique mechanism because I was very clear of that. The podcast, I'm doing it in my own brand because it's like taking imperfect action. And so what I found is that a lot of answers came to me when I started in motion. So when I started to talk, a certain market gravitated to my message, and they began messaging me, and they began commenting on my stuff, and they began saying, what do you have? They began coming to this show, and they began saying, Prima, I want to work together. A certain group of coaches and consultants. And it doesn't matter how many times I would have tried to describe this avatar, I wouldn't have gotten to it. It's a coach consultant because that's who I add to my world. But what kind of coach and consultant? At what level are they? Because I have people who've made $500,000, they've made $1 million, and they just want to understand what I know. They just are trying to learn something and they're stuck in their head. And so for me to sit down and say, this avatar is like this and this and this and this and this, it's just going to be keeping me stuck. I recall Matt is obsessed with like avatarizing down the avatar. And so one day we sat down to create an avatar for his client. And I kid you not, we ended up with a divorced one-eyed woman living in Singapore. Like, I thought that was ridiculous. It was a divorced one-eyed woman living in Singapore, I don't know, as a teacher, earning below, I don't know, below 10 grand a year or something like that. I felt I was going now to another level. And so what I've come to really notice is that I serve coaches and consultants and anything in between. So people are coming to me and they're a personal brand and they're like, I've always thought about bolting on coaching consulting. And luckily for you, I've always actually had that target of like 100 grand a year. And so can you show me how it works? I've also attracted people who are already in the coaching and consulting industry who are like, Prima, I actually have clients, but they're driving nuts. And so your content around creating a business on your terms, working with less people, going deeper with them really resonated with me. And then I have people who are successful. They've been a coach or they've been a speaker. They've been another thing and they're very successful. And they're like, okay, how does coaching and consulting work? I've made $1 million doing the other thing, but I do want to do coaching consulting. So I could have put a label to who I want to, which I have put a label. It's people who are making 100 grand a year, but it doesn't mean that it's only the people that are going to come to me. So people come to me because my story has something to do with us offline, and then I pivot to online. And so somebody has tissue to connect with and says, yes, I had a brick and mortar too, and now I'm online. And then I believe you can help me because you have that experience. Some people resonate with something else. And so I can't control what my audience can resonate with. I can only come here and share all of my lessons, doing coaching and consulting, talk about my behind the scenes, talk about my problems, talk about how I overcame them, and see who comes through with that. And that becomes the person that I serve. Does that make sense? I really hope it does. And so what I have found, the way I found my niche is I started talking and my content created the niche. But I understood where I want to serve. It is in the coaching and consulting industry. But off of that, I couldn't really tell what level of the coach. Is it a business coach? You know, is it a marriage counselor? I didn't know how to call that out until I started creating my content and a certain kind of person started coming through. It wasn't the consultant. It wasn't the healer. It wasn't this and that. It was the person whose problem was I get stuck in my head. And sometimes I honestly think I overthink everything. And so if you can help me get in motion more, I believe that I could make more money. And so some people are going to come to me because of my story. Some people are going to come to me because of what I stand for, which is like taking perfect action, get in motion. And some people are going to come to me based on something else. Maybe it's based on a piece I've shared. Maybe it's based on how I show up. Maybe it's based on my ability to just be me and not just try to be different. People are going to come to me for different reasons, and I can't control that. What I can control is the content I put out, which really shows people who I am, how they can learn from me, and how they can grow with me. And hopefully open up my brand and give it to them and show them that this is who I work with. And if you're that person, do X, Y, Z. And I really hope that this, even though I feel like I am just talking and talking, has helped you a little bit understand how to not overthink through your brand or even anything that you're trying to do. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed and this is helping you, consider subscribing and sharing, because I don't run ads. And I help coaches, consultants bolt on monthly recurring revenue and attract clients and generate referrals. And if you're that person who feels stagnant in their business and would love a leg up, go to primajope.com/request conversation and we can jump on a call and I will see if I can help. And if I can help you, we'll give you an offer. If I can help you, I probably know someone will. Let's get back to the show. As I bring this to a head, really, I would wish for you to have a clear brand, because a clear brand is going to be a filter to all of your messages, your decisions, your offers, and everything. Imagine if you were this clear. The problem myself in the market is stagnation in coaching. The reason coaches are stagnated is because they have action paralysis. They think more than they move, and this is getting them even more stuck by the day. My message to the market is get out of your head and get in motion, because every answer you're looking for is hidden in the motion you're not taking. My unique mechanism is motion or momentum. If everyone could build motion or momentum, they would be 100 times more attractive to the person they're trying to attract. The person I would love to serve, or the person my message serves, is a coach consultant or aspiring coach consultant below 100 grand. When you have this as clear as it is, it's going to make everything easier. Everything, content, podcast-wise, offers, launches, master classes, courses, coaching program and all of that, it's gonna come easier. Why? Because you have a lens through which you're filtering these actions. And so I would want to encourage you to have that for what your personal brand is, because it takes away all of the process of thinking and deciding. And when the people I work with, and at the same time, I don't have a big team, I have like a VA, and most of the work I do myself. But when I have maybe 2 or 3 or 5 people on, they can always look at the brand and know what is okay to do and what is not okay to do. And so I hope that this video really helped you get out of your head and not overthink your way through a personal brand. I recall when I did this, I had Google Docs and Google Docs and Google Docs. I recall booking a coaching call and I had a Google Doc inside a Google Doc inside a Google Doc inside a Google Doc when I was giving this Google Doc to my coach. Because when I hire people, I don't assume they know what I need. And so I usually give them like a pre-document to explain to them what I'm struggling with, what I've tried, and what I think it is. Because I would love to get the most back for my money, because I pay for coaching and consulting, and sometimes I'm paying for an hour. And so if I have to spend $1,000 for an hour, I can't expect the coach to troubleshoot the problem and help me in the same hour. And so I kind of have to give them a leg up. And so what I like to do is I like to put it on paper, like, what am I struggling with? What have I tried? How am I trying to resolve it? And what do I believe is the thing they can give me? And they're welcome to troubleshoot otherwise and say, I don't think that's your problem, but it's my job to tell them. And so when I had hired this coach, I had written everything. And what I realized that I had a Google Doc inside the Google Doc, inside the Google Doc, inside the Google Doc. So I felt like I had over 10 Google Docs going. And that is when I began to think, maybe I'm overthinking this. And rightfully, when he came through, it was like, Prima, the problem you have is one, you're trying to create your way, you're trying to think your way to this personal brand. You're trying to engineer the personal brand from a drawing board. And one, it doesn't work like that. And two, you're not wired like that. And so for some of you, you might be able to do that. But for a person like me, whose superpower is motion, it's hard for me to do that. And so it was like, one, things don't work like that. And you would have to be a perfectionist to do it like that. But two, you're also not wired like that. And so your DNA will refuse this mechanism that you're trying to use. And so he said, what you want to do is just move, and then the answers will come. And I kid you not, just getting in motion, putting out my content has answered all of these questions for me. And so my advice for you from this podcast or from this episode is quit thinking about everything you're trying to do too much and get in motion sooner, because sometimes the clarity you're looking for in thinking is hidden in the action you're not taking. And it would be a disservice for you to try and think your way to a personal brand. At least it has been for me. And so if you're trying to think your way through a personal brand and your perfect message and your perfect avatar and the problem you solve and your one word, whatever, and you feel stuck, I would encourage you to move and let your content do the sorting for you. Have a rough and move and let your content and the market response do the sorting for you. Okay, I hope this helped you out. And if it did, subscribe and share, because that is the only way that you and I are going to spread the good word. I'll see you in the next episode.